the man of duty, the man that did his job. He fulfilled his role in every way possible. He did what he was supposed to do better than no other. Or should I say better than every other. But first, it is time for the subscriber challenge. Now, I want you guys to either pick heads or tails. If you win, then you win. But if you lose, then you lose. And if you lose, you have to subscribe because that is the challenge. So pick right now. 3, 2, 1, go. What's it going to be? It's going to be tails. So if you pick heads, then you lose. And if you lose, you have to subscribe because that is the challenge. This guy did his job before and after the Easy A. Before the Easy A, to be honest, the only difference between him post Easy A and before the Easy A is that they changed the 80% damage reduction for 7 turns. They kept it the same except for the fact that they changed it to 10 turns, which honestly was enough. It was enough. The increase in stats made it so that it was a massive buff. His defense was just better. Someone might say there was one more change, which is the offense, and I would say that extra offense was completely irrelevant because that only gets activated when the enemy is stunned. At times it will activate, but most of the time that would be completely irrelevant. I would rather them have just given him 50% defense and got rid of all that. And that would have been so much better. But even without that, even with what they gave us, he was more than good enough. He dominated the modes that he was supposed to dominate, which is Super Battle Road and then Extreme Super Battle Road. In both of those modes, this guy was almost a must run. Unless you were trying to speedrun, this guy would be a must run on all of your teams for SBR or Extreme SBR. I've seen some people say that back then though, his link set wasn't even that good because this guy's got over in a flash. That's not prepared for battle. But the thing is, back in those days, over in a flash was actually a decent link. A lot of the best units had over in a flash. Obviously today that's changed, but back then over in a flash was pretty decent. And Golden Warrior, I mean, a lot of units have that. So in terms of key, he's gonna be fine back then. And to be honest, even if he doesn't super, he doesn't need to super. He's there to take hits like no other. He's there to be a slot 1 juggernaut for you. Wherever you want to put him, slot 1, 2 or 3, he is doing his job for the first 7 turns before the Easy A and for the first 10 turns after the Easy A. And speaking of the 10 turns, bro, 10 turns is a lot. It is a lot. The only places where that will be bad is in like the really long content, like the Fighting Legend Goku events and things like that. Even in Red Zone, like this is doable. Like it's possible for you to beat Red Zone stages in 10 turns. So this guy it's possible to run him in Red Zone, but I wouldn't recommend it. Because if you do go past 10 turns, this guy is completely useless. Not only is he useless, like he's gonna get you destroyed after 10 turns, but if you can do it within 10 turns, if you can beat the stage within 10 turns, this guy is pretty much a must run to this day. Now to be fair, I say to this day, but in the more difficult content, he will take damage, but for the most part, he's going to be fine. And the thing is, not only was he tanking really well before and after the Easy A, if you did get the super off, he's got a high chance to stun. That's even before the Easy A. So if you really look at it, the Easy A, they pretty much changed nothing except for the fact that they changed 7 turns to 10 turns and they increased the stats. That was literally the only change. And to be honest, that by itself made him a very good junior because this guy didn't need much. Because he's doing his job before and after the Easy A, and his job is to dominate shorter events, and he did just that. This 10 turn thing though, I am a fan of that. Honestly, if they just got rid of everything else after the Easy A and just let him have that 80% damage reduction for good, get rid of everything there and just keep this first part of the passive, and his Easy A would still be sick even in the longer content. But obviously they didn't want to make him too OP, so they had to give it him for 10 turns only. But it would have been sick if they just give him that for good. Like all he's doing is defense. That's all he's doing. And honestly, he would be runnable to this day if that was the case. Even in the longer content, he still is runnable, to be fair. That 10 turn thing though, it's not the worst thing ever. Because if you look at Bardock over here, he's only got 5 turns. And that is still powerful, where he foresees the enemy super attack for only 5 turns. Honestly, that should just be for good. Like there was no need to limit that for 5 turns. Maybe it would be too OP, but honestly, why not? Just give it to him. He was the brand new Dokkan first. They might as well have just given it to him. Just make him a top 5 unit in the entire game. Like honestly, if he had that for good, he probably would be a top 5 unit in the entire game. At the very least, he'd be in that discussion. And would he be better than Cooler at that point? Tough to say. Either way, he would be a lot better if he had that permanently and not just for 5 turns. Like, it would be sick. I don't think he'd be top 5, but he'd be damn close. Now this Vegeta, this Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta, when I say he did his job, compared to every single other Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta in this game, he truly did his job. In fact, the only other decent one on release was this guy. When he got the Awakening, he was decent. He was actually pretty decent. Nowhere near as useful as this guy, but he was decent. But the rest of them were not that impressive, if I'm being honest. This guy, obviously, he's really old. He needs an EZA. And to be fair, he might get an EZA soon. I don't know when, but when he does, it will be pretty sick. But even on release though, he was not that impressive. He was alright. To be fair, with an EZA, he's got some potential because he does raise defense for 3 turns. But we'll see what they do. This guy was nowhere near as good as his counterpart, which is the STR Super Saiyan 3 Goku, who was way better than this guy from the Dragon Ball Hero Celebration. This guy was not that impressive. This Chance to God thing is awful. I really don't like Chance to God. In fact, I would say I hate Chance to God. And this guy's got that, a Chance to God, and that is pretty much what ruined this unit. If he had Permanent God, bro, this guy would have been really interesting. But unfortunately, he did not. That might have made him too powerful for the devs' liking, but it is what it is. This guy, his Chance to God is completely and utterly what ruined him. And this guy, I mean, he's not really doing much. And to be fair, he's really old. I don't expect much from him, but even on release, he wasn't too impressive. And especially today, now he's completely useless. But that's what I'm saying. This guy, to this day, is useful. But when he came out, he was dominating SPR and Extreme SPR. And I've said that multiple times now. But the thing is, back then, SPR and the Extreme SPR stages, they were the most difficult content in Dokkan on release, which is what makes this guy so impressive. Certainly one of the best aging units in the entirety of Dokkan, with the stunning and more importantly with the defense. With that said, hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, then do leave a like and do leave a comment, because those things do help out with the algorithm so that more people can see the video. Also do subscribe, especially if you failed the challenge, because that is the challenge. With that said, thanks for watching and I will see you guys next time.